laptop, get your tablet, watch on your TV. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, make a cup of tea. There'll be songs, there'll be smiles, you might hear a story. Tell your family, get your friends round for a Stukeley assembly.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's Values Assembly. As you might be able to see, I'm not in the school hall today. I'm actually in my spare room in my house. So I've got no clues on the walls to help me whatsoever. So I'm definitely going to need your help. We're going to begin with today's values and saying those together. So for each other we, every day we, to improve we, and together we will. Good job everyone. So next bit, our everyday focuses are our motto is, and our Stukeley curriculum is. Good job everyone, well done. Today our Stukeley value that we're going to think about is care, with a little bit of collaboration thrown in just for good measure. But before we get started, it's really good if we could think about what we talked about last week in our Values Assembly. I wonder if you can remember. We did hear a story all about a character called Aziz. I wonder if you could tell somebody near you what you can remember about Aziz. Yes, Aziz was a man who lived in a village, and that village underwent a period of change, or at least Aziz felt that it had. Lots of new people arrived, and the look of the village and the feel of the village, and especially on market day, everything felt really different. And Aziz wasn't sure that he liked the change. He wasn't sure if he liked the village the way that it now was. And then he met someone that slowly began to help him change his mind. Do you remember her name? Yes, that was it. She was called Numi. And Numi, along with her friends, slowly helped Aziz realise that perhaps the changes that his village had undergone weren't actually all that bad. Do you remember what happened? Yes. Numi and her friends spent time with Aziz, and as Aziz got to know her, he realised that actually she was a really nice person and that she was really interesting. And what was more, when he spent time with her, his life became a bit more interesting and a bit more exciting too. So in the end, Aziz embraced the change and found that his world and his life had got that bit more interesting and a bit more exciting all along, and he hadn't thought that that would happen at all. Now this week, we're thinking about caring for everybody in our community, but also working together to make sure that we treat everybody well in our community. Because recently in the news, there's been a lot of talk about change. And we've focused ourselves on our talking, haven't we, about changes that are expected, changes that we're happy with, that we feel comfortable with, that we understand. And we've also talked about some changes like those we've been through recently that we're perhaps less keen on, not seeing our friends so often, maybe not going to the park, maybe not doing lots of things that we would normally do. And perhaps that's made us feel a little bit worried or a bit uncomfortable, or maybe a bit cross as well sometimes. But sometimes big world events like the event of coronavirus that's been affecting the world and affecting our lives as well, where so much has changed, it gets people thinking. And it makes people think about changes and thinking about the things that have changed that maybe have been good changes, and some of the things in their lives that have changed that are maybe not so good. In fact, we've asked teachers at our school to think about all the changes that have happened in terms of their jobs as teachers over the last few months. And we've asked them to think about which of those changes have you actually liked, that you think's been positive, has been good, has made you feel better, has made your life a little bit better. And then we've also asked them to think about some of the changes that maybe they've not liked so much and they've seen as a negative thing. It hasn't been quite so good. I wonder what changes that you've had in your life recently that you think have been good ones. I wonder if you could tell somebody near you. I wonder also if there have been some changes in your life recently that maybe you've not been quite so keen on. I expect that there are. Now, today we're going to think about an issue in the news where lots of people think that there should be a change in the way, particularly that we think about one another as human beings and the way that we treat one another. They think that the world should perhaps be a bit fairer for everyone, so that no matter where you come from, what language you speak, what beliefs you have, what colour your skin is, or even if you're a boy or a girl, that none of those things should matter, that we should all be treated fairly just because we are human beings. Now, I'd like us as a Stukeley school community to think about how we treat one another today and how we can make sure that our school community is a really fair one. Now, as a school, we know that care is a really important value for us, and that at the heart of the care value is this idea of fairness, that it's really important that everybody is treated fairly and equally. I wonder if you've ever thought about fairness. I wonder if you could think of a time when you were treated unfairly or where something that happened to you that you don't think was fair. I wonder how that made you feel. Just tell somebody near you about that, a time when you think you were treated unfairly and how you felt about it. I'm sure you all came up with lots of ideas. I can't think of anything specific for me, but I do remember, because I'm the youngest child of 3 children in my family, and although I'm not a child now, I was once, and I remember there were lots of times when I thought it wasn't fair because my brother and sister got to stay up late and I had to go to bed early because I was younger than them. And I'm sure there are lots of other things in your lives that you can think of that you don't think are particularly fair. Now, I'm going to share a really short bit of a story today, and it's a story called Amazing Grace. And here's the book here. Now, I've had this book for a very, very long time, and the reason I bought it in the first place really was because my daughter's name is Grace, and I thought that she would enjoy this book. I'm not actually going to share the whole story with us today because we spent a lot of time reading a story last week, but I am going to look at a really short part of it and share that with you today. So I'm going to read from the story. One day at school, Grace's teacher said they were going to do the play of Peter Pan. Now, what you don't know is that Grace loves pretending, and she loves acting out stories at home for her mum and her grandma to watch. So, when the teacher asked her, well, who would like to be Peter Pan, Grace put up her hand. She wanted to be Peter Pan. But you can't be called Peter, said Raj. That's a boy's name. But Grace kept her hand up. You can't be Peter Pan, whispered Natalie. He wasn't black. But Grace kept her hand up. All right, said the teacher. Lots of you want to be Peter Pan, so we'll have to have auditions. We'll choose the parts next Monday. I'm just going to show you a picture of Grace and all her friends at school. She's the one, just here. There she is with her hand up, wanting to be Peter Pan. Now, when Grace went home that night, she was thinking about everything that had happened at school. I'm sure you do that sometimes as well. And she didn't feel very happy, and she didn't feel very pleased. And when she spoke to her mum and grandma about it, she was feeling quite sad. And when she said to her mum, one of my friends said I couldn't be Peter Pan because I'm a girl. And then another one of my friends said I couldn't be Peter Pan because he wasn't black. And that made Grace feel really sad, because it actually doesn't make us feel very happy, does it? When we think we've been treated unfairly, it does make us feel sad, and it might make us feel a bit cross as well. And Grace felt a bit sad and cross in that story, and so did her mum and her grandma. Now, in the end, Grandma very wisely told Grace that she could be whatever she wanted to be. It didn't matter if she was a girl, and it certainly didn't matter if her skin was black. That they told her she could do whatever she wanted to do and be whatever she wanted to be. She just had to put her mind to it and try really hard. Well, I'm going to show you the picture of what happens. There is Grace, and she did get to be Peter Pan because she was so good. All her friends agreed that she was the perfect choice at the auditions. Now, the thing is, she wasn't treated very fairly in that story. And so it's really important to us as a school that we think about treating one another fairly and with care. Because when we care for one another, it's really important for all of us to make sure that we're all treated the same and that we feel that we have the same chances, the same opportunities, the same chance to be Peter Pan if we want to be Peter Pan, the same chance to do the really difficult maths problems if we want to do the really difficult maths problems, or to read the thickest book possible in the AR library. It doesn't matter who we are, whether we're a boy or a girl, or whether we're black or we're white. All of those things aren't really important, and to us as a school it's so important that we know that we are treated fairly and that we need to work together to make sure that that's the case. Now, we have to work together on that because it's about all of us working together to make sure that our school is as fair a place as it possibly can be, and that we care for one another, that we include everybody, that we make sure that everyone knows that they are valued, that their life is important, that their opinions and their ideas are important, that their ideas of what game to play is important. All of those things really matter for each and every single person in our school community. And I want us, as we go into this week and beyond this week, to think about making that change, to make sure that if we're not always as inclusive as we could be, or we're not always as kind and as fair as we can be with one another, to make sure that everyone is happy in our school community, that we can all work that little bit harder to make our school that much of a better place. So I hope you're going to work with me this week on making sure that Stukeley is a happy, safe, fair place for each one of us. Take care of yourselves. Have a good week. See you next time.